Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here today. We're going to take a quick look at Fantom, and just before we do, we'll look at Bitcoin first, get a baseline of the market. And if you're new to the channel, I've been trading for a very long time, so this is for education purposes only. Keep that in mind, but you're in good hands. We're just going to try to help educate you on best practice to help minimize your loss, maximize your gains. I have a trading community too as well. Link in the description below. Check that out in your own time if you find benefit, of course. But looking at Bitcoin, what we're going to do first is just take a quick peek at what's going on here. So, bottom line, 58 to 60,000, nice strong support level. We've also got a pretty strong support channel here, about 61,000 you can't see, but if you look at the volume profile, you can tell that there's a lot of volume in this time frame, or this price range rather. So in other words, a very, very good sign, kind of reaffirming the fact that we have a stronger support channel right here. Furthermore, as well, and this is icing on the cake, not only did Bitcoin break out above its descending wedge pattern, which is a bullish pattern, we're making higher highs, higher lows, and we're above the 50-day simple moving average. These are all good things, good enough for me to consider taking a position. So that was just my thoughts there. I think that right now is a good enough time. We should be able to see a bounce and up to about 63, 64,000 this weekend. Moving on to Fantom. Let's take a quick look at Fantom. And obviously it's been retracing pretty heavily. I get a lot of requests for this one recently because I'm sure some people would probably either invested probably perhaps too high, or they want to consider where to take their profits. Hopefully we can identify that here today. But for the most part, it makes sense as to why it's doing that. And let me explain why. So we had this strong increase here followed by a retracement, and then a dip and then an increase again, right? So this right here is about a 50% point, right? That's why Fibonacci has 0.5 as one of its middle points for a support and resistance zone, because that's a common place for the price to kind of hang out and relax once it's through consolidating, right? So I'm speculating that in this second pump up here, we'll see 50% as a pretty close approximate for the center point. Again, pending the fact that it didn't increase too high too fast. Now let me explain that for you. And what I mean by that is if we can see this here, nice little increase, healthy, seems pretty good, right? That's not terrible. That was good enough time. So in other words, we had about 2 weeks of consolidation, I guess you could say, plus or minus, before the price ramped up. This one here, the only problem I see is that we might have had only about maybe 7 days before the price ramped up, and that is going to cause the price to come down even further. So we'll take a look at Fibonacci and see what our support and resistance levels are, but I'm speculating we're going to see a support somewhere in this range here, or maybe even just say somewhere in this range here. Okay, so we'll take a look. We'll see. So that being said, let's go ahead and take a quick peek at Fibonacci, and then we'll dive into some of the other things that are also equally as important. All right, so this is roughly what we're looking at here for Fibonacci retracement. Now, right where I kind of expected, we're going to see a nice retracement line here, right at about 272 or 1.272. So I would say, for lack of better terms, $2.43 should be, I would say, the lowest point in which it should go. That was the most recent high, all-time high, that was broken to the upside, right? So that's kind of a relevant place in which you want to consider, a stop loss or just below, right? Same thing here as well. We also got 2.65, so $2 and, well, round up to $2.66 is another support channel. Okay, so those are kind of what we're looking at there for the more immediate, I guess you could say, support zones, based on the fact that they're more relevant highs in the past, and Fibonacci is kind of just letting us know, hey, if it comes down that low, we might see that. So anyways, that's kind of what we're looking at there for those. So we got the support zones handled. Let's take a quick look at the RSI. It's under 70, which is actually perfectly fine. We want to see that. Ideally, though, if we don't see or what we should see, and if we don't, we want to be concerned, but what we should see is a bounce off of 50 on the RSI, which will essentially probably correlate with this one here. So my speculation is the price will probably go past the current support zone of 266. It'll work itself into its channel. Right around 244, we're going to probably see a consolidation period, and that is essentially right where this 50 is at on the RSI. They should usually communicate very well, strong support zones with 50 on the RSI, because they're both effectively, I can't draw a straight line for my life here today, sorry. They're both basically considered support zones, right? 50, 70, and 30 are all support zones within the RSI, but they oftentimes kind of overlap major support and resistance levels on the actual price itself. Bear this in mind too, we got a pretty strong divergence here, so we're going to see this kind of come down, where this is going to come out. So it's going to be a little while before we get another convergence where the price will potentially increase. I don't foresee Fantom increasing anytime soon, based on the fact that it kind of got too high too quick. That's my personal opinion. So I would, either cut your losses or just, hold on until it, calibrates and kind of gets back up there. But again, the higher something goes, the quicker it is to retrace. That's just kind of how it works. So that's kind of what you're looking at there for Fantom for the, I guess, more so long term. Let's see what short term looks like. Again, that's kind of really close here to that support level. Let's also note where the SMA lines are at. So we lost the 50 on the SMA. That's not a good sign, which basically means we have to rely on the 200. So therefore, there's a good chance within the next 2 or 3 days, we'll probably see the 200-day simple moving average basically meet with 244 on that support. So again, that's just kind of reaffirming the fact that we'll probably see a bounce off 244 within the next week. It may not be a strong bounce. Don't expect it to shoot to the moon, as people like to say. That is not going to happen. If it does, I'd be very, very surprised. I mean, all the more power to you. Trust me, I want that to happen if you're invested, or return your investment, whatever the case is. But realistically speaking, here, we're under the 50-day simple moving average. We can only rely on the 200 and the support zones right now, and there's not a lot of as I like to say, gas left in the tank here. Is just kind of coasting downhill until it hits its strong support. And I do think 244 is going to work as a pretty strong support. One last thing we can take a look at here is TD sequential. And also we'll look at the cloud here next, but we can see that this is not done retracing yet. So it tried to pump up here, got rejected, and it's coming back down still. So again, all the more reason to consider either A, taking profits, or perhaps wait to see if 244 is tested and effectively use that as a place in which you want to maybe add to your position if you want to continue to go long. But generally speaking, I think we're going to lose this potential support here, or if it does bounce, great. But we still have roughly 3 more hours worth of consolidation according to that. We'll see where we're at in the cloud. We're obviously well below the cloud, which is pretty standard, all things considered. So again, the common rule of thumb is to wait for the price to be above the cloud before you take entry. And that will probably put us, somewhere over this range here. I would say 2 or 3 days, best case, we're going to see the price break back above the cloud. It's a very, very low likelihood. Now, again, if Bitcoin jumps up to 66,000 this weekend, different story, right? Fantom will have a little bit more, that momentum that is gained from the industry, and everyone's just feeling happy with the gains. There's that confidence that goes into making investment in altcoins. But right now, I think the social sentiment is not favoring Fantom right now, and it's just kind of in that state of consolidation, retracement, and we'll probably see the price continue down. So that's my prediction here. The price will come down in the next week or two to hit 244. I would say long-term year-end, it may consider trying to break its all-time high up here, about 347, 348. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Okay, so just pay attention to how the price consolidates here in the next couple of days, maybe in the next week or two, and then consider adding to your position if this support level of 244 holds. If it doesn't, we'll look at it again. We'll reevaluate and see what goes on, see what happens next. But I thank you so much for joining me here today. Again, thank you to my patrons for requesting that I cover this. And if you're not a patron, consider checking that out. Really cool community. Actually we're all learning and growing together. Awesome experience. I actually send out signals for every single trade that I take too. It's a signal group / trading community, kind of a hybrid, but an awesome, awesome situation. All right, thanks again for your time. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.